So welcome to the regular meeting of the Park and Rec Commission meeting of November 18th, 2021. The time is 2 minutes after 6. And Becky, can you call the roll, please?
Yes, Commissioner Cabrales,
Here.
Commissioner Emerson,
Here.
Commissioner Gutierrez,
There.
Commissioner Lauman,
Here.
Chair Machado,
I'm here.
Commissioner Reisner. I don't see her on yet, and Commissioner Sandoval.
Here.
Thank you.
I'll invite Becky to explain how the public can participate in this evening's agenda.
Good evening, everyone. Viewers are welcome to provide public comment online through Zoom or by telephone at 669-900-9128, and the meeting ID is 946-0348-5912. If you are watching this meeting through Zoom, please select the participants button and select raise hand if you wish to speak. If you are participating by telephone and wish to speak, please press *9. When it is your turn to speak, you will be notified by the host inviting you to participate. You need to press *6 to unmute yourself. Once you're unmuted, you will have 3 minutes to provide your comments.
Thank you very much, Becky. Are there any amendments to this evening's agenda?
Yes, there are, Chair. Thank you for asking. We have 2 commissioners who'll be leaving a little bit early tonight. So we are requesting that items 6 and 7 get moved up to follow item number 3. So
Okay.
6 and 7 will happen before 4 and 5.
Okay, so noted. Anything else?
That is it.
All right. The first item on the agenda is to approve the regular meeting minutes of October 21st, 2021. Are there any questions or comments in regards to those minutes from the commissioners? Nada? Okay. I need a motion to approve those minutes.
Actually, we need to invite public comment if there is any.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yep.
Sorry.
Is there any public comment? Is there any public?
Yes, we do have a couple people in as attendees.
Okay. If you're out there, you're invited to comment on the minutes.
So Becky, is anyone raising their hand?
Yeah, no hands.
No hands are raised. Okay, so I'm going to ask the commissioners for a motion to approve the minutes.
I can move to approve. I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Becky, can you
Take
so
roll.
Becky, are you going to talk to the public in regards to if they're watching through Zoom? Will you make that comment?
I can again if you'd like. Yeah, sure. And this, yeah. So if you're watching this meeting through Zoom, please select the participants button and select raise hand if you wish to speak. If you are participating by telephone and wish to speak, please press *9. And when it is your turn, you'll be notified by the host inviting you to participate. And you need to press *6 to unmute yourself. Once you're unmuted, you will have 3 minutes to provide your comments.
And I am sorry, Becky, I was on page 3 and I was on page, so anyhow, I'm going to request, I got a motion and a second, and can you call the roll, Becky?
Yes, Commissioner Cabrales,
Yes.
Commissioner Emerson,
Yes.
Commissioner Gutierrez,
Yes.
Commissioner Lauman,
Yes.
Chair Machado,
Yes.
Commissioner Reisinger,
Yes.
and Commissioner Sandoval.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Motion
All
passed.
right, so that is approved. And so the second item on the agenda is the introduction, awards, and recognitions presentations to the Orca swim team.
Yes, I'd like Debbie Youngkin. She will introduce the member from the Orca swim team that is here tonight.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to introduce you to our brand new Orca president who has not had a lot of time in his new position yet. So break him in slowly with any of your questions, but he is here tonight to give a recap of basically the last couple of seasons and how the Orca swim team has been able to continue through the pandemic in just kind of a different way. So without further introduction, Andre, welcome.
Well, thank you for having me, everyone. I am Andre Pasternak, newest president of the long history of the Terra Linda Orcas. Great thing about the Orcas right now is that we're about to hit 60 years next year. So it's really exciting for the team, and we're hoping for an amazing 2022 season. Well, as Debbie just introduced, 2020 was a big shock to all of us, and we had to do a lot of adjustments. And I thank her so much for all of the work that she did to help us get access to the pool. It was a Hunger Games type lottery for our swimmers, and we were able to get a small group in, and everyone was greatly appreciative for all that we could do in 2020. We reworked that whole philosophy for 2021, and our board spent a lot of time coming up with a really solid safety plan that we presented to Debbie and Tiffany, and got the buy-in for what our season could look like. And as things opened up, we were able to grow the number of swimmers of the pool, and really give a lot more access this year to a lot more swimmers, and everyone was extremely appreciative for everything we were able to do at the pool. So thank you all for that availability. And and we're planning on a great 2022 season. Oh, and with the last thing about 2021 was we're actually the only us and the other team, the Lucas Valley Lightning, were able to have the only dual meet of all of the 10 teams of the Marin Swim League. So at our pool, and that was a really special thing for everyone who had missed out on almost 2 years of no swim meets.
Thank you, Andre. We appreciate that very much. Is there any public comment? Any comments from the commissioners or?
I'll just say congratulations for being able to move your team forward through this really challenging time. And I hope this summer brings much better swimming for all of you.
Thank you so much.
All right. Any other comments from the commissioners? All right. Well, thank you very much, Andre. I appreciate your volunteerism and all your hard work. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much.
So we won't go to item 4. We will go to items 6 and 7 on the agenda right now.
We actually need to go to item 3 first.
Item 3 is public comment in the audience regarding any items not listed on the agenda. Is there public comment on anything not listed on the agenda?
Becky, could you read the
Yeah.
script?
If you're watching this meeting through Zoom, please select the participants button and select raise hand if you wish to speak. If you're participating by telephone and wish to speak, please press *9. When it is your turn to speak, you will be notified by the host inviting you to participate. You need to press *6 to unmute yourself. Once you are unmuted, you will have 3 minutes to provide your comments. We do have a couple people as attendees, but I do not see any raised hands, Chair.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Commissioners, so there's no comments on anything else. So we can go to, we have done item number 3, and we can go to the selection of the commission chair and vice chair right now.
Correct.
Okay.
That is correct. So I'm gonna move ahead. Let's see.
And I apologize. I was told how this is all going to work, and I'm just trying to make it through here. So
Not a problem. So we're going to skip ahead. So everyone who's listening in and participating, we are going to start with item number 6. And I'm scrolling through myself just to catch up. Let's see, make sure we're all on the same literal page. My goodness. This packet is much longer than I remember. Okay, so tonight what we are doing is we are electing a chair and vice chair. and also reviewing the committee assignments for the Pickleweed Advisory Committee. So we can take them one at a time. Normally, it has been the practice of the boards and commissions to elect a chair and vice chair annually. They historically, they tend to go with the most senior members of the commissions, boards, or committees to serve as chair and vice chair, and then they go through the various different positions on each of those boards, commissions, or committees to give everybody an opportunity within their 2 4-year terms to serve as one or both. Currently, right now, Chair Machado has served at our pleasure for 2021, and Commissioner Emerson has served as vice chair. So we are entertaining right now the nominations for chair. And so if Chair Machado could open that up, that would be great for discussion.
I would open that up for your for what you guys have to the folks you want to nominate for chair and vice chair.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
What are the term limits again for chair and vice chair? I know it's changed.
So chair is, they are both 1-year terms.
Okay.
I'll nominate Chair Emerson, sorry, Vice Chair Emerson to go up into the chair position, and I don't know who's next in line. I would guess it's Stacy, Commissioner Lauman, to move into vice chair would, or maybe Kat is, I don't know who came before me.
It would be the recommendation to just handle each motion separately. So to handle chair
Then
first.
Starting with the chair first.
Chair
Okay.
Emerson to move up into the commission chair position.
And can we get a second for Chair Emerson?
I can second that.
Okay.
Commissioner Sandoval.
Are there any other nominations for the chair position? Oh, okay. Becky, can we vote on this?
We need to see if there's any public comment.
And okay, is there any public comment in regards to Cicely for chair?
If you are watching this meeting through Zoom, please select the participants button and select raise hand if you wish to speak. If you are participating by telephone and wish to speak, please press *9 when it's your turn to speak. You'll be notified by the host inviting you to participate. You need to press *6 to unmute yourself. Once you are unmuted, you will have 3 minutes to provide your comments. And I do not
Is
see
there any
any raised
comment?
hands, Chair.
Okay, so I will close public comment and we will vote on Commissioner Emerson for chair.
Okay, Commissioner Cabrales,
Yes.
Commissioner Emerson,
Yes.
Commissioner Gutierrez,
Yes.
Commissioner Lauman,
Yes.
Chair Machado,
Yes,
Commissioner Reisinger,
Yes.
and Commissioner Sandoval.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Motion passed.
okay. Well, congratulations. I see, wish we can clap.
Look
Um,
forward to an in-person meeting sometime where we're not on Zoom.
Yeah. You'll be the fortunate one. So so we'll take nominations right now for vice chair.
I nominate Commissioner Lauman for Vice Chair.
Can I have a second for Stacy?
I second.
All right.
Quick question. And just that my term on the Park and Rec Commission is ending in May 2022. So I'm more than happy and honored to serve as vice chair, but if that causes a challenge, we can also have someone else be vice chair. I'm open to that.
Commissioner Lauman, is it the end of your second term? Or your first
Yes,
term?
I think it's the end of my second term.
Okay, I'll take a look right now. If you wanted to serve to May, that is fine. And then at that time, if you've termed out, if we look it up and you've termed out, then it is. if you were seeking reappointment because it was only your first 4-year term, then, and you were successful in that, the commission would need to select a replacement. But in no way should it affect this at all.
Okay, I'd love to do it if that works out, or if anybody else is very interested, I'm happy to step aside.
Are there any other nominations for vice chair? And seeing none. Becky, do you want to call the roll?
We need to ask for public
Yeah,
comment.
Public comment. Sorry.
All right.
If you're watching this meeting through Zoom, please select the participants button and select raise hand. If you wish to speak, if you are participating by telephone and wish to speak, please press *9. When it is your turn to speak, you will be notified by the host inviting you to participate. You need to press *6 to unmute yourself. Once you are unmuted, you will have 3 minutes to provide your comments. And I do not see any raised hands from the attendees.
Okay, and then I will close public comment and we can vote.
Okay, Commissioner Cabrales,
Yes.
Commissioner Emerson,
Yes.
Commissioner Gutierrez,
Yes.
Commissioner Lauman,
Yes.
Chair Machado,
Yes.
Commissioner Reisinger,
Yes.
and Commissioner Sandoval.
Yes.
All right, motion is passed.
All
Okay,
right.
As a point of information, Commissioner Lauman was correct. Her second of 2 terms expires on May 2022. So we'll be coming back to you at that time. We also have 2 other commissioners whose first, let me make sure I'm saying this right. Their very first term expires in May 2022. And that's Commissioner Gutierrez and Commissioner Reisner. So if you are interested, I'm just letting you know this because often people don't realize that this happens. If you're interested, you need to reapply. Don't assume, because there are some great commissioners who assume that they automatically got re-upped and they didn't. So I want to make sure you know that if you're interested, and I'll make sure to prompt you when the time comes, or Catherine will if I'm not here. Okay, so the next assignment is the committee assignment of being the liaison to the Pickleweed Advisory Committee. Commissioner Reisner served that for 2 one-year terms. Commissioner Gutierrez was the alternate. Technically on that committee, there's only 1 liaison. So Commissioner Gutierrez could be appointed if she was interested as the liaison. She was the alternate in case Commissioner Reisner couldn't attend. But Commissioner Reisner was appointed twice, which is the maximum that you can serve unless nobody else is interested. I know it sounded a lot
I-
more complicated than it is.
Can I comment on that?
Sure.
Yeah, unfortunately, I didn't get a lot of chance to serve because of COVID and everything. And then Commissioner Gutierrez did step in when I was unavailable, and she has done an amazing job. I'd be more than happy to nominate her, unless I believe you're also serving on the plan committee. So I don't want to overcommit you. But Commissioner Gutierrez has done an amazing job in that role.
Thank you.
Terrific.
Yeah, I'd be happy to continue. I know the project we were working on last year, the group I was on ended. I think.
Okay.
Unless I've missed some meetings. Yeah, I'd be happy to continue.
Okay. Are there any other nominations?
I should also say if somebody else wants to do it, it's a great group and they should definitely put their hand up.
Yeah, I will say I was disappointed. Disappointed that COVID happened on so many levels, but it was we had just started to get really going with the group, and then COVID hit and XYZ happened, but they've got a lot of momentum going, and it's a really fun, as Commissioner Gutierrez said, group.
Remind us of the schedule for that. When is that? When do they meet?
I think it's roughly 6. Oh, well, Susan, you're about to speak, but I don't think it's more than 6 to 8 a year.
I will look it up again.
Yeah, it's like every other month, kind of. I think at
Mhm.
like 7 p.m. it was going, I believe, at the Alboro Community Center.
I will look it up. I believe it's 5 times a year, but I will double check it right now.
Honestly, the worst part was finding parking. Other than that, it was great.
Okay. Are there any other nominations for that position? All right, I invite public comment. Becky,
If you're watching this meeting through Zoom, please select the participants button and select raise hand if you wish to speak. If you're participating by telephone and wish to speak, please press *9. When it is your turn to speak, you will be notified by the host inviting you to participate. You need to press *6 to unmute yourself. Once you are unmuted, you will have 3 minutes to provide your comment. And Chair, I do not see any raised hands.
okay, then I will close public comment and I will ask for the vote.
Did we get a second for that? I didn't have a note.
I'll second. I don't
Who
think we
was
did,
Oh,
Becky, but
Tiffany?
I'll,
Okay.
I'll second for the nomination for.
Thank you,
Commissioner
Commissioner Emerson.
Gutierrez. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Cabrales,
Yes.
Commissioner Emerson,
Yes.
Commissioner Gutierrez,
Yes.
Commissioner Lauman,
Yes.
Chair Machado,
Yep.
Commissioner Reisinger,
Yes.
and Commissioner Sandoval.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Motion passed.
All right. Thanks, Ariel.
Before we move on, I just want to say thanks, Mark. You did a wonderful job this year. I know it was I know we were sort of in COVID before, but I feel like you've done a whole year of COVID meetings and you just did a great job. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. All right. So now we are back to the regularly scheduled events, right, Susan?
That is correct, Chair.
Okay.
So we're now on,
The 2021 Annual Aquatics Report.
I'm going to introduce Debbie Yunkin, who's a Senior Recreation Supervisor at the Terra Linda Community Center and Pool. She also oversees the Hamilton Pool and is the supervisor of Falkirk as well. So she's very busy, a lot of balls juggling in the air. But tonight she and her staff will be giving us the presentation. So I'll let her introduce them.
All right. Thanks, Debbie.
Thank you. For those of you who have not had the opportunity to meet Tiffany Haley, Tiffany Haley is our program coordinator who oversees the aquatics for both the Hamilton Pool and the Terra Linda Pool. She will be providing tonight's aquatics overview for the last year.
Debbie,
Yes.
Debbie, I'm so sorry. I'm
That's
so
okay.
sorry. As I'm going back and forth, we forgot item 7.
Uh-oh.
Sorry.
To be continued.
I'm sorry. Like something went really fast there, but we didn't. Oh, such great.
All
plan
right.
we had. The meeting schedule. I apologize.
Okay, so the next item on the agenda is the meeting schedule. And so Susan, take it away.
All right. Let me go back to our original. So tonight, we just need to have the commission review the tentative schedule for 2022 and see if there's any conflicts that you can see. So I'm going to go back to my agenda. So normally the only time that we choose an alternate or recommend an alternate date is if we know it is conflicting with a holiday or a school vacation period or something like that, where a lot of people obviously have conflicts. Otherwise, we go ahead and then we only cancel meetings if there's nothing actively on the agenda for that month. So right now, let me see what we have. I think I checked it for all.
One thing I did see was August 18th and 19th. I thought it looked like, I think that was the wrong date, or it got switched from a Thursday to a Friday somehow.
You are correct.
All right.
Make sure that's the only one.
That's the only one I saw.
Kayla, you found the golden egg.
I have to plan far ahead, so I was putting it in the calendar.
No, I have no excuse. I have the 2022 calendar sitting right in front of me. That's what I do every year when I prepare this. And obviously, and I also wrote the wrong year.
On the wrong year on August 19th, yeah.
Good thing I'm
2021.
retiring. You'll have somebody who's a little bit more with it, right? So anyway, August 18th, 2022, that is definitely a mistake. That should not
Okay.
be there. All the rest appear to be correct. Hopefully.
Okay.
But there wasn't any conflicts when I checked the school district's calendars. I didn't see any conflicts up to obviously June. I don't know what their next fall calendar is looking like, but I didn't see any conflicts with any major holidays or school vacation periods.
I think there's a conflict with St. Patrick's Day.
That's true. And I'm not sure, but maybe the staff can tell us. I'm not sure if there's a winter break, the school break on February 14th through the 18th.
The school break is the week after, I believe. So I think
It's the
that's
week
fine.
after this year. Okay.
All right. Okay, so commissioners, there's any other comments? I'll ask for comments from the public.
Sorry, I have a quick question. February 17th, is that not one of the holiday weekends in February? Is that a different weekend?
I didn't think so, but I can double check.
I know the 14th is a holiday and the 21st, I believe, is an observed holiday, but I wasn't sure if that was the traditional week off at school.
Is that the ski week?
Midwinter break
Yeah.
is the week of the 21st.
Oh, okay. So we're good.
Thank you.
Okay. The only other item that the commission has often done is go dark in December. So you can do that at this time as well. You've often recognized either August and or December as your dark months ahead of time, but it's up to you what you'd like to do.
So this year we did August and we're doing December, right? And so commissioners, do you want to do the same thing next year?
Yes, I was going to recommend we do the same thing next year with the flexibility to add a meeting if necessary or drop a meeting as an alternative.
Susan, is this something that we need a motion for in a
Yes,
second?
we do.
Okay.
Yes, we do.
So I will ask for a motion to take to go dark in August and December of 2022.
I will.
My dog motions to do that.
I second.
Okay, all right. Okay,
Is there-
so
Is there any
any
public comment?
and public comment, please. I'm getting it now, Susan.
If you are watching this meeting through Zoom, please select the participants button and select raise hand if you wish to speak. If you're participating by telephone and wish to speak, please press *9. When it is your turn to speak, you will be notified by the host inviting you to participate. You need to press *6 to unmute yourself. Once you are unmuted, you will have 3 minutes to provide your comments.
Is there any comment from the public?
I do not see any raised hands, Chair.
And I will close public comment and please call the vote, Becky.
All right, Commissioner Cabrales,
Yes.
Commissioner Emerson,
Yes.
Commissioner Gutierrez,
Yes.
Commissioner Lauman,
Yes.
Chair Machado,
Yes.
Commissioner Reisinger,
Yes.
and Commissioner Sandoval.
Yes.
All right, motion passed. Thank you.
Okay, now we're on item 4.
All right. We are on item 4, the 2021 Annual Aquatics Report. Take it away, Debbie.
Thank you. Okay, as I was mentioning, Tiffany Haley, the program coordinator who oversees both the Hamilton and Terra Linda pool, is here tonight to give you a recap of our 2021 season and all of the things that we've been able to accomplish this past year, as well as the changes throughout the season as we went through aquatics in COVID. So Tiffany and I have been working together for about the last 5 years. So we've been able to develop a really good aquatic staff and continue to build and grow our program. And without further introduction, Tiffany.
Hi, everyone. I'm Tiffany Haley. I'm the program coordinator at the Terra Linda Community Center. It's nice to see everyone again. Am I able to share my screen now to start the presentation?
Yeah, you should be able to do that.
Okay, thank you. Okay, can everyone see this? Okay. Let me. Okay. Slideshow. Okay, sorry about this. I'm not too familiar with sharing here. So I'm just going to go over the aquatic season for 2021. And then we will answer any questions or listen to comments at the end. So here is the Terra Linda pool. Those of you that aren't familiar with it, please feel free to stop by and I could show you around. So we offer lap swim at both Terra Linda and Hamilton. At Terra Linda, we were able to offer lap swim in 2020. We started in July of 2020 and went through mid-November. Reservations were required. People were able to swim one person per lane, and the sessions were 45 minutes, and it gave staff about 15 minutes to disinfect in between. For 2021, we did reservations through July. So we started in, I believe it was April of this year, and did reservations through July. Once July hit, starting August 1st, we did our drop-in, so people come and pay for the day. And then for June and July, we were able to have 2 swimmers per lane. And once we started the drop-in process, we did not have a capacity any longer for lap swim. And for recreation swim, we required reservations for both 2020 and 2021. And mostly, well, let me go back. For 2020, our max capacity was 22 patrons during our rec swim, and our normal capacity for Terra Linda is 244. And how we were able to come up with 22 patrons, there was a formula. You took your square footage, or I believe it was, and you divided it by 300, and that is how we got our 22 swimmers. For 2021, depending on the time of the year, the day of the week, we had a max capacity of 30 to 75. And one of the reasons why we kept reservations going this season was due to staffing. We didn't have as many staff, and so we were able to, let's say we're able to have 4 lifeguards. We knew we could have 75 swimmers in the water. Oh, and reservations for the session length in 2020, it was 90 minutes, and then we were able to up it to 2-hour recreation sessions in 2021. And we were able to offer swim lessons in 2021 at both Terra Linda and Hamilton. Initially, we only offered private swim lessons, and it was to limit exposure and be one-on-one or semi-private, which is 2 students to 1 instructor. Families were able to sign up for private lessons on specific days and times, where in the past they worked with the instructor to schedule them basically anytime we were open. The private lessons were 30 minutes in length. And at any given time, unfortunately, we were only able to have 2 private lessons going on at a time, where in the past, sometimes we had 5 or 6 private lessons in the water. We did, though, offer 9 weeks this summer, and we got a total of 471 participants for private lessons, which is not much different than a normal summer. And then once the season started going, we decided let's try some group lessons. So we offered the lower levels 1 through 3, and parent taught. We had sessions in June and July, some during the week and some on the weekends. And because we only offered a few sessions, it was, I want to say, between all the levels, it was maybe 5 or 6 sessions. We had 38 participants. So we do want to grow our group lesson program back up next year. And we offered Camp TL. It was formerly known as Splash Camp. Splash Camp was a week-long camp, and they were able to get 30 minutes or 4 30-minute swim lessons during camp. But due to COVID, we were not doing group swim lessons in 2020. So we changed the name to Camp TL. So they still did their arts and crafts, their games. They went to the Terralinda Park, the playground. They were following all COVID guidelines. In 2020, it had to be 3 weeks. So we had the same, I believe it was 12 kids for all 3 weeks. And then in 2021, we were able to go back to our 1-week sessions. And each week we were completely full with camp. We brought Junior Lifeguard Camp back. Junior Guard Camp is offered to the youth that are 10 to 12 years old. They work on water rescues, entries. They get introduced to head and back injuries, and they do games, arts and crafts as well. So we were able to offer 2 sessions this year as opposed to 1 last year. So we did almost double our numbers. And for the first time this year, we didn't call it a camp. It was more of like an introduction to lifeguard training. So we called it Junior Guard Basics. And it was for kids that were entering 7th and 8th grade. So about 13, 14 years old. And this was really like a lifeguard training instead of a camp. So they were doing more like team building activities instead of focusing on games and whatnot for younger kids. But they watched all the lifeguard videos, they practiced the skills, like I said, team building. And with the first year that we offered it, we only offered 1 week, but it was a huge hit, and we did fill up that camp this summer. We were still able to offer lifeguard training courses. It was definitely a lot different. So in years past, we offer what's called blended learning. So they have to do about 7 or 8 hours of online work prior to going to the in-person course, which is about 23 hours. So it's a total of 30 hours. But this year, instead, they still did their blended learning, their 8 hours of online work. But instead of doing the classroom lecture, we did it through Zoom. So we were spending about 6 hours on Zoom. We did all the lecture. We kind of crash coursed it instead of doing lecture skills. And then once they got in person at Terralinda, that's when we practiced the skills and they were able to test out. And we started offering that in April of this year. They were offered to the public, but most of the participants in 2021 were our staff members. So we had 77 participants in our lifeguard training courses, and 50 of them worked with us this season. And then, sorry, I don't have the little key on this, but the light blue is 2020 and the dark blue is 2021. So even during COVID, our numbers were better or, increased from 2020, even though we still had reservations for recreation swim. and even lap swim. I personally believe, and I think Debbie can agree, that we had the same or more lap swimmers than a normal season. So I think the reservations kind of kept people accountable for coming to swim. And then we'll move on to Hamilton. Again, same. So Hamilton, we did not open in 2020. We partner with the city of Novato. Debbie chatted with their managers, directors, and it just, between Novato and San Rafael, it just didn't seem feasible for us to open in 2020. So we waited until this year. We opened in May of 2021. Again, we did reservations through July. Anything that we did at Hamilton, that's what we did with Novato. We opened it up to drop and lap swim August 1st. And our last day was the end of September. Recreation swim, again, we did reservations. At Hamilton, we do need one additional lifeguard than we do at Terra Linda, with even with our max capacities being the same, because we have an activity pool there that needs to be guarded as well. Swim lessons, we offered private lessons, same model as Terra Linda, specific days and times that families registered for. Numbers were a little bit lower than Terra Linda, but we were still really pleased with the 422 participants for private swim lessons. Group swim lessons, we only did parent taught, which is ages 6 months to 36 months. Parent participation or parent or guardian participation is required, and these were just on weekends in June and July. And these were our lap swim numbers for this year, lap swim and recreation swim, sorry. But lap swim, that's about normal for Hamilton. Our public swim in a normal year is probably roughly between 30 and 40,000, depending on, or no, that's total, excuse me. It's probably about double that for public swim. 30 or 40 is like the entire season. Do you guys have any questions or comments about the pool season?
Commissioners, any questions or comments for Tiffany?
Tiffany, I just have a quick question. Oh, it's not quick, but maybe it's thoughtful, but just any lessons learned from COVID that you can apply to future programming? I know it's been a struggle, but is there anything that you feel like you've learned from this pandemic that might help influence your future ideas about how you run your programs? Sorry, it's a really big question.
Reservations, we kind of had a love-hate thing with the reservations. It was nice to know exactly like who was coming, how many people, how many guards I had to staff. But there was also, we were also extremely limited with maxing our capacity. But Debbie, do you have any? I mean, what do you?
I think one thing that I took away from the whole COVID process was that we have other ways of being able to provide lifeguard training, which makes it a little bit more flexible for people to be able to take the class. I have a love-hate relationship with this whole online Zoom process, but I think it did help us with being able to get people certified and be able to get lifeguards on deck, not only for our facility, but to also help support some of the other pool facilities around Marin County as well. So I think that's the biggest takeaway that we have that came out of COVID, that we found a new way to do things. And we were probably one of the few pools that were open in Marin County, and we definitely saw a lot more people coming our direction, which did create some challenges because of course people wanted us to be open more or allow more people. And then we also had the customers who were concerned that we were now allowing two people per lane. So it was constantly this struggle of trying to make sure that everybody was happy to the best of our ability. And I'm very proud of how we were able to handle COVID and be able to open the pool.
Thank you. Commissioner Reisinger.
Yeah, as a lap swimmer myself, I was some of those reservations and they were great. Challenging when we decided we didn't want to go that day because then we missed out on our $8 or whatever. But I totally understand why, because we were reserving our spot. So thank you so much for staying open for that. I do have a question wondering about, you had changed Splash Camp to Camp TL as an interested party with young children, wondering what the future of your camps for the swim camps look like, in that I don't believe any other camp was really open for that age group in at least this area last year. And hopefully you heard me, my internet's been going in and out, so.
Yeah, I got you. Since we will be bringing group lessons back, there isn't any reason that we shouldn't have Splash Camp again. The only reason why we changed the name was because we didn't know if they were going to be in the water at all. So even during, because they also do some free swim. So not only do they get their swim lesson, they also have about 30-45 minutes of their day in the pool. So we took away the splash, and then when they were able to have free swim, it was kind of like a bonus. But we do want to bring Splash Camp back and include the swim lessons.
Any other questions from the commissioners?
Sorry.
You go ahead. Go.
Sorry. And then with that, is Lucas Valley still slated? I'm sorry, I didn't quite understand from the presentation earlier. Are they still slated to be practicing this year, or is their pool finished, or how does like the early spring schedule kind of look with the swim teams? Can you speak to that at all?
It's my understanding that Lucas Valley is done. If they had a grand opening, I didn't hear about it, but I believe they are done, or the pool is done, and that Lucas Valley Lightning could go back to the homeowners association pool. So we had Lucas Valley Lightning swim team, which is another MSL swim team like the Orcas, in for like the last 3 years, or 2 out of the 3 years.
So so will you be going back to reservations, Tiffany, for lap swim for 2022? No?
No, we will go away with all reservations, even with recreation. Is that correct, Debbie? Yeah, so we'll go away with all reservations. We might have a different model, like with season passes, but we won't be doing reservations.
Okay, all right. Anything else from the commissioners? And then, and Ariel.
I just have one quick question. You were talking about staffing being a challenge. Did you find that it got better throughout the season? I know in my work, at the beginning of the season, no one was there. And then by the end, everyone wanted to work, every team that had 2 arms and 2 legs. Did you guys have that, or not that rush at the end? No.
We did not have that.
Call me next year.
Hopefully. We were basically making our schedule due to the staff that we had. So if they said they can work 4 to 7 in the evening, we were open 4 to 7. If they can work weekends, I mean, weekends weren't really the challenge, but for the last month or 5 weeks, we had 2 stay-at-home dads that were lifeguarding from 9 a.m. to 1. We had an individual that was driving from Sonoma because he was looking for hours. So he would work like 9 to 1 and then 4 to 7. So he would just hang out in Marin for 3 hours until his shift again. So it was a challenge.
Well, thank you. I know that is a challenge every year. Thank you.
All right. I'm going to open it up to comments from the public.
Thank you, Debbie and Tiffany, for all your work. Look forward to seeing you off Zoom
Thank you.
in the next year.
Becky, is there anybody out there?
Yeah, hi, and I did want to also let you all know we did receive the one email that from Rebecca Bowler that was forwarded to you all of the commission, and that was the only feedback that we had received.
Becky, I think that has to do with community garden.
Oh, I'm sorry, you're right.
Yep.
I was ahead of myself. Okay, so yes, we do still have some people in the audience there. So if you're watching this meeting through Zoom, please select the participants button and select raise hand if you wish to speak. If you're participating by telephone and wish to speak, please press *9. When it is your turn to speak, you'll be notified by the host inviting you to participate. You need to press *6 to unmute yourself. Once you are unmuted, you will have 3 minutes to provide your comments. And I do not see any raised hands, Chair.
And I will close public comment then. And the recommendation is that the Park and Rec Commission receive the report and provide feedback, and we've done that. Do we need to do anything else, Susan?
No, you do not.
All right, Tiffany and Debbie, thank you so much for your report. It was awesome. All right. And next we're on to the next item on the agenda, which is the review of the updated community garden guidelines for the Canal and Terra Linda community gardens. Susan.
Thank you, Chair. We have Debbie Yunkin and Darcy Chalu on tonight to discuss and present the community gardens guidelines. I just want to remind the commission that this item was brought to you a year ago. And at that time, we were very hopeful, but unfortunately, there was a lot of public feedback that was not supportive of our recommendations, which was fine. So we spent the last year, and Commissioner Reisner and Commissioner Cabrales assisted us in many community meetings, both virtually and in person, to get the community's feedback at both sites and to make sure that they were heard and we addressed their concerns. So before we start the meeting and start the presentation, I just wanted to let you know, thank you for your patience. Staff and with the two commissioners' assistants have spent the last 12 months making sure that the community was fully engaged on this item. So Debbie, would you like to start?
Hello again. As Susan just provided a summary, we have been working on this for the last year. We've had, as you're aware, we've had some reorg within our department and how the gardens would be managed. And it just provided a great opportunity for us to figure out how to kind of streamline some of the processes out of the gardens for overall management purposes. But this process has taught us that it was a great experience to be able to engage the gardeners and to kind of find out what's been working for them and what some of their challenges have been. And tonight we'll share a little bit with you about that and the process that we went through and kind of go from there. At this time, I'd like to introduce and turn it over to Darcy Chalu, who is the program coordinator, and part of her new role and responsibilities is to oversee both the Terra Linda Garden and the Canal Community Garden. So with Darcy.
Hi, everybody. I want to make sure you guys can see my screen here. As Debbie mentioned, my name is Darcy Chalu. I've been transitioning into the garden administrator role since August of this year. First, I just wanted to provide you with some background on both gardens and then talk a little bit about the outreach that we've been doing. At the Canal Community Garden, it was formerly operated by the Canal Alliance from 2013 until the city took it over in 2017. 68% of those gardeners live in the Canal community. There are 92 raised beds there, 48 half plots, 32 full plots, and 12 ADA raised plots. That garden also has a greenhouse, a shed for storage, and user lockers. They have a first come, first served wait list process to get into the garden. There's currently about 15 on that list right now. There are 2 garden work days a year that are ran by the volunteer working group, and plots are reserved for a calendar year. Existing gardeners can renew and keep their plot each year. For the Terra Linda Community Garden, it was created in the 1970s. There are currently 8 plot holders in that garden right now that are non-residents, and 1 that has 2 plots within the garden right now. There are 70 plots there, 64 of them are 450 square feet, so much bigger than the ones at the Canal Garden, and 6 of them are 225 square feet, and 2 of those are ADA compliant as well. They also have a first come, first served wait list process, but there is about 50 on that list for the Terra Linda Garden. There are 2 garden work days a year, and you are required to at least attend 1 of them. Currently, there's a steering committee serving a multi-year term, and like the Canal Garden, plots are reserved for a calendar year. Existing gardeners may renew and keep their plot each year. About a year ago, as both Debbie and Susan mentioned, city staff combined the Terra Linda Community Garden guidelines, but we received feedback that the gardeners wanted to keep the guidelines separate, which is why we're coming to you tonight with 2 separate guidelines. Gardeners also expressed that they wanted city staff to be more physically present in the garden. So for the months of August, September, and October, I have provided office hours at each garden, trading off each garden each month and switching days of the week to try to connect with gardeners and hear out their ideas and concerns. We also reached out to Marin Master gardeners for support, as they have expertise in community gardens. Marin Master gardener and co-chair for school community gardens, Barbara Searless, volunteered to assist us with reviewing the garden structures, guidelines, and helping us identify best practices for managing both gardens. Barbara attended the community garden meetings and provided additional support to staff and answered garden questions by gardeners and helped us streamline the guidelines to best meet the needs of each garden. She has offered so many resources to assist in providing garden workshops and just a great deal of overall support, which we are very appreciative of. We set up a time to meet with our current gardeners online and in person at their respective gardens. So we had a morning garden at the Terra Linda Garden, and a Zoom meeting later that evening. And again, the following day, we did the same thing at the Canal Garden, and then a Zoom meeting later that evening. This gave us some great insight on what the gardeners are looking for and what they would like to see in the coming years. Lastly, we created a garden-specific email address where gardeners could go to send their concerns, ideas, and receive information from me, which has been very helpful in just filtering in those comments and questions into one place. With that, I'm going to pass it back to Debbie, and she will give you the key changes we're proposing in the 2022 guidelines.
Thank you, Darcy. So as far as some of the proposed updates, a lot of this stuff came through from our meetings with the gardeners, as well as just our overall experience operating both gardens. So per the feedback from the gardeners, we developed guidelines that are site specific for each garden. A lot of them are very similar at each garden, but there are some specifics that pertain to either the Canal Garden or the Terra Linda Garden. All gardeners must be San Rafael residents. Those that are currently non-residents can continue. So as Darcy mentioned, we have about 8 gardeners in the Terra Linda Garden who are non-residents. Some of those gardeners have been in the Terra Linda Garden since the early years that it got started. So one of the wishes was that those that are existing non-residents be able to continue in the garden until they decide to leave the garden. And those that are currently San Rafael residents, if you move out of the area, you will then forfeit your plot at the end of that growing season. We did receive some feedback that there were concerns from gardeners that are currently in as San Rafael residents that they may have to move out of the area. And they really do not want to have to lose their garden plots due to circumstances beyond their control where they have to leave San Rafael. So I just wanted to make sure that that was recorded. Gardeners that have plots at both the Terra Linda and the Canal Community Gardens will have to choose between having a plot at either the Terra Linda Garden or the Canal Community Garden. Due to the size of the wait list for both gardens, we want to make sure that the garden is available for as many people as we can possibly provide. And that there is one plot per household. And there's one existing plot holder in the Terra Linda Garden that has 2 plots at the Terra Linda Garden. This gardener has been with the garden for many, many years. And back about 14 years ago, the steering committee had agreed to grandfather in anyone who had had 2 plots at that time. And as you dwindle down to 1 plot, then you would forfeit your opportunity to get 2 plots back. So we do have one person at the Terra Linda Community Garden who will have 2 plots. And again, they've been grandfathered in based on the former garden bylaws, excuse me. The garden community expressed a continuation of a garden committee of some sort that would be elected, is that we would go with an elected Terra Linda Garden Committee to serve a 1-year term with the expectation that we want to be more inclusive and to engage more gardeners with volunteer opportunities. So the new committee that is formed will then work with volunteers to increase our ability to do more out of the garden. The gardens take a lot of time to manage, and unfortunately, we only have so many hours in the day with so many different programs that we're currently managing, that using the support of existing gardeners will be very beneficial and helpful. And then the same with the Canal Garden Committee will be formed, elected to a 1-year term with the opportunity to engage more volunteers there as well. Some of the problems that we've experienced out of the garden have to do with maintaining plots. And so we're clarifying some of the language. For instance, if a disability or injury occurs with a gardener that prevents gardening, they have 14 days to notify staff and must work out reasonable accommodation. So they'll contact Darcy and say, I'm having surgery, or I just broke my leg. And we will work with them to try to find a possible solution so their plot does not become out of compliance. So we want to find a way to work with gardeners who sometimes experience life's challenges to make sure that they can keep their plot, but there also has to be communication from the gardener working with us to make sure that that happens. And a faster compliance process. Our current compliance process allows people to go potentially a couple of months before anything is actually able to get moved forward in regards to people who are not maintaining their plot. So Barbara, Master Gardener Barbara, had given us some recommendations on a faster timeline to be able to move garden plots along faster if people are not maintaining their plots. So hopefully that will help take care of some of the wait list issues too by turning over plots faster. There were other comments that were made by the gardeners that, you know, are on the list for continuous reviews, such as there were members of the Terra Linda Garden who expressed an interest in drip irrigation. We are currently researching best practices for drip irrigation in community gardens, and that's something that we'll circle back to. So with that, do you have any questions?
Any comments and questions from the commissioners? Yes, Commissioner Reisinger. You're muted.
Still muted. It's like the worst Zoom thing. Sorry, my dog is sleeping on top of my everything. That's why you see me keep moving. And I just, anyways, I was part of the garden committee process and appreciate all of the staff time, effort, energy, compassion put into the project. I'm just once again, wondering where the cost recovery target goals come from for supporting the community gardens, because they take up so much staff time, effort, energy, and then, the percentage of population size based on the community garden size and what's supposed to be happening. And I apologize. Sorry, but balancing life, work-life balance. Sorry.
Susan, do you want to field that question?
Sure. Commissioner Reisner is absolutely right. The community gardens in general do not generate a whole lot of revenue, but the intent of community gardens is really to augment what individuals do not have at their homes. And so the latest fee increase that went into effect on July 6th basically recovers the direct costs of the community gardens at both Terra Linda and the community garden.
All right.
Thank you.
Any more comments for Debbie? Ariel?
I just sort of want to echo that. It sounds like you use the word direct cost, so that's good, but there's so much indirect costs, and the rules that are listed here on the attachment you guys provided us are deep. I mean, there's so much oversight that has to happen. And I guess I'm sort of echoing Kat's comments, which are, that's a lot of staff time to manage approximately 70 people. And so specifically what I was curious on the Terra Linda one, I think it's 77 or something, has the study ever been done? And I don't know if this is the wrong thing to say, I hope not, but I'm curious how many, specifically in the Terra Linda garden, the people, do they not have garden space? I believe or suspect in the Canal garden that's certainly the case based on typical housing size in that neighborhood. I could be wrong. I'm just sort of curious if that's really the case, or if these are just little projects of love, which is good too. I just don't know. There's so many needs in the community for outdoor space that San Rafael lacks. And I guess I just want to comment, or would be curious to hear sort of what that impact is specifically. Are the gardeners typically, this is their only garden? And if so, then that feels like more of a benefit to me, but I'm just sort of curious if that's been looked at.
Now, I'll let Debbie and Darcy give specific feedback as to kind of the demographics of the gardeners, but I will share that community gardens in general serve really two purposes. One is to augment what people don't have at home, but also most people, if they want to grow produce of any type, they often don't want to turn their backyards, which are usually more leisure oriented, supporting children, supporting dogs, etc., into vegetable gardens, etc. Or they don't have the space, or whatever they have going on at home doesn't impact each other. The combined uses don't do well. Some people have the advantage of having both at home, but a lot of people do not. And so you will find that people who do have homes with spacious backyards still prefer to have a community garden where they can grow produce, flowers, and really enjoy the camaraderie of other gardeners and learn from the community gardeners. There's a lot of, just the experience that we've had in the past year, and I've worked with previous community gardens, but the amount of expertise that these gardeners bring to the garden and the variety of generations that are participating and what they share with each other there's no value to that. It's unbelievable. So you will hear a lot from our gardeners, as our two commissioners did, on how impactful belonging to this community garden is for them socially. So it serves a model more than just growing stuff. But I'll let Debbie and Darcy share with you maybe a little bit of the demographics of the gardeners.
Oh, can I just jump in and say that yeah, I definitely want to second what you were saying, Susan, that I'm a lifelong gardener myself. And so didn't have any experience with community gardens. So I've really learned a lot over these meetings. And I was, one of the main things was how much community is an important part of that whole equation. Like really, there's just a definite community, and I even got an understanding of why they wanted two different guidelines, because it's two different communities. And I didn't understand that before visiting and talking to everyone. And so I am definitely learned a lot about all the other benefits besides just the garden and the produce. There's definitely a community building aspect to it that I think is really important.
Just as a side note, one of the biggest issues or concerns that the gardeners raised with us was their ongoing request and need for more social activities and communication. It was really kind of interesting. And of course, more education in regards to gardening and all of that. But that was their number one thing. So the garden just seems to be the vehicle, but what they enjoy is community.
Yeah, no, that's good to hear. And specifically then I would encourage us, me, you, everybody on this to continue to generate ways in which it can continue to sort of grow the community aspect. You know, how many more kids groups can go through there? How many, open learning days so people can go meet those master gardeners and bring more than just those plot holders into it. Because I'm hearing you that it's more community space, and I think that's great. Thank you.
Yeah, so along those lines, we do have a mixture of different gardeners with, some who do have houses, as Susan mentioned, and backyards. And the garden really is a great sense of community, and they do want that community engagement. And if we can definitely find a way to build a garden committee at both gardens who can help plan and organize those senses of community, then that will be a great way for us to build the gardens. To rely solely on staff to do it who are spread with different obligations is really challenging. We continue to try to find ways, but again, it is really challenging. So we're hoping that this new structure where you only have a year commitment, or you can just volunteer to help with social obligations or work days, will be able to rebuild that sense of community within each garden. And again, only the 1 year commitment, but you can continue to go year after year.
Thank you. Yeah, I think that's great. I think any way that it can serve more as an open garden rec center than sort of a closed, only these people with plots can come in. I think that's awesome. Thanks.
How many are on each committee? You have committees for both gardens, right?
We do.
Yeah.
So we had said that we would select 5 people who would be elected. And then those 5 people would have different areas of interest that they could sign up to help with. And then they would recruit volunteers to help with put together workshops or education seminars or just community potlucks. The sky's the limit.
Great. Any more comments from the commissioners? Okay, so I will open it up to public comment. Becky?
Thank you, Chair. And again, like I was saying earlier, we did receive the one email from Rebecca Bowler that was forwarded to the commission. Yeah. And that was the only feedback that we received through email and the mailing that was sent out. So I'll go ahead and continue with our audience. And we don't have anyone that's on the call through phone, and I do have 2 raised hands, so I'm not going to go through the spiel. So okay. I'll go ahead and get my timer ready here. Give me just a moment.
Okay.
All right, I'll get my timer ready, and we'll start with the first one we have here, which will be Shirley Fisher.
Okay.
So let me get this timer started. 3 minutes on the clock. Okay, Shirley, go ahead. You have 3 minutes. If you could unmute yourself.
There.
There you go.
A new button, Okay, so I'm probably the oldest, longest term gardener in the Terralinda Community Garden. I've had my husband and I've had a garden plot there for 40 years. So I've gone through a lot of different regimes with about, I think, 6 different garden coordinators over that period of time. I want to say 2 things. Number one, in the past, there has been much less need for city administration and oversight, that a lot of the garden has functioned on a volunteer basis. In fact, it was set up by volunteers and run by volunteers for at least the first 2 decades of its existence. And there is a lot of participation of people there that does not involve city administration effort. For example, a goodbye party for one of the older than myself gardeners was organized by the people in the garden and held a potluck party, potluck reception, no involvement from the city. Most recently, this past weekend, the gardeners got together, 25 of them, and did a purchasing of onion plants. 3,950 onion plants were brought to the garden and distributed among the 25 gardeners there. This again is totally from a volunteer effort. I think a lot of the people in the garden get discouraged when they see decisions coming down without input from the gardeners, and that it will be encouraging for people to participate when they have the opportunity to have a more active role. I think that's one of the reasons that a lot of the gardeners have been asking for continuation of the steering committees, at least in the Terralinda garden, to have role into input and policies and things that happen at the garden, so that the stakes don't go in with people being surprised and this sort of thing. I think there's a great opportunity for the community to work with the city administration and take a lot of the burden off of them, because I don't think a lot of the rules that are there that you see on the paper really only involve 1 or 2 people where there are violations that are happening. But basically the garden runs really well. People help each other, they water for each other, they share vegetables, we take vegetables to the food banks. There's just a great spirit of cooperation and community there that you don't find through a course or some other of the activities of the recreation department. It really is a community institution that I think you really need to come out and see, enjoy, come get some squashes and berries and whatever. People are totally willing to share, and very happy to be supported in the continuing of the garden.
Thank you, Shirley. Thank you for your input. That's great. Who do we have next, Becky?
Okay, next we have Jennifer Arkuni. And you also have 3 minutes, Jennifer. You can go ahead and unmute yourself. I'll start the timer.
Hi, thank you. Yeah, my name is Jennifer Arkuni and I'm a gardener at the Canal Community Garden. I live in a condo on Lincoln Avenue with my husband and my 9-year-old son. So indeed, the garden provides us the only space we would have to grow produce. So we're very grateful for it. It's been my first year of gardening. It's been our first year with a plot. And so we realized that, like, with the transition and coordination, that there probably have been some gaps that we know Darcy and Debbie are working really hard to fill. But I will say that I think that there really is, and as I've heard from other gardeners, as well as feeling this myself, a need for more communication and community. For example, under the general guidelines, number 6, you say each year there will be 2 to 4 work days scheduled, plus ongoing opportunities such as weeding and cleaning in the communal areas. The year that I've been there, that has not happened, or if that's happened, nobody's alerted us that there was a work day. And in fact, recently there seemed to have been a huge cleanup that was done. The lovely fig tree was pruned and lots of cleanup looked like it had been done. And I was like, oh my goodness, I wish somebody would have told us. 1, we would have shown up. And 2, one of the reasons that we also wanted the community garden was for the experience of learning more. So like learning more about when the fig tree needs pruning and what, so that Also, if those things are being arranged by the administrators, and now we're going to have a steering committee, we can take on some of that ourselves versus you guys like calling the master gardener and having to have them come in. We can have more of a working plan to run and evolve our garden. So, so I think like it'd be great to like specify like who communicates about some of these things. Then just under the garden plots, number 12, in order to control fly and rodent populations in the garden, we have some protocols. I did notice some rodents. I told Darcy twice about it. I did not tell her a third time. So I think that we want to keep that really on the radar. And then the final thing I'll say, because I know that my time is running out, is the steering committee for the canal. It says it will meet as needed to accomplish goals. I think we need to specify a cadence, because I think if we want to build momentum, we can't say as needed. We need to say a minimum of 4 times a year, or a minimum of 6 times a year, or even monthly to get it like up and started. We can always cancel a meeting later if we don't need it, but I think to get a cadence up and running, that would be helpful. I've a few more things to say, but I think I'll leave it there, because I think there's just the beginning of some good conversations. Thank you.
Thank you, Shirley. Appreciate your comments. All right. Is there anybody else out there, Becky?
No, just the 2.
Okay. All right. All right. So the recommendation, so I'm going to close public comment right now. The recommendation is that the commission review and approve the updated community garden guidelines for the Canal and Terra Linda community gardens. So Becky, can we, I'm going to ask for a motion from to do that, and I need a second as well.
I will motion for that, to approve the guidelines.
I
Okay.
second.
All right, Becky, can we have a vote, please?
Commissioner Cabrales,
Yes.
Commissioner Emerson, she's left. Commissioner Gutierrez,
Yes.
Chair Machado,
Yes.
Commissioner Reisinger,
Yes.
and Commissioner Sandoval.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passed.
All right. Well, thank you very much. And thank you very much, Debbie and Darcy. That was a lot of work that you guys put into that. I mean, I was looking at the package and I'm like, oh my goodness. I killed a tree. Sorry. Anyhow.
Also, we'd like to thank Commissioner Cabrales and Commissioner Reisner. They went on this journey with us, and it started off kind of bumpy, and honestly, with their guidance and with Debbie and Darcy, we were really able to work with the gardeners to, to come up with our recommendation and have it successfully support what they were looking for. So I just want to thank them as well.
Thank you very much, commissioners.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm impressed. That was quite a journey, and I really am feeling really good about how the Parks and Rec Department responded to all of the different needs of the community, and was able to really come together and give something that I think really works for everybody. So I'm proud to be a part of that.
All right.
Actually, real quick, I just want to thank the 2, Shirley and Jennifer, for calling in. Thank you for your time. I think Mark already said that, but I just want to say it from me. Thank you.
And well spoken. Absolutely, both of you. Anything else? Okay, so we're going to move on to the commission reports and comments. And number 8 on the agenda is other brief reports on any meetings, conferences, or seminars attended by any commission members. Does anybody have any reports in regards to that?
This is a bit random, but I supported, from a financial fundraising perspective, the CPRS District 1 bowling adventure, which CPRS is the California Parks and Recreation Society. I think some of us have heard about that before, the professional designation for our industry, if you will. And there are some members from D1, District 1, which is where San Rafael is. And it was fun. They raised some money for scholarships to help individuals with this profession. Students get scholarships to be able to learn about the profession and get additional training, which was really fun. And I plugged San Rafael, which was cool. So yeah, no, really nice. Oops. I'm sorry, my dog's still here. Lost my mic. Sorry.
Thanks, Kat. Anything else, commissioners? Any other reports?
Oh, and I'm sorry, Chair Machado. I also went to the Dia de los Muertos event, and it was fantastic. I mean, it's always fantastic, but this one was really extra fantastic. My fourth grader is really into Spanish, did the whole Dia de los Muertos thing, and it was really amazing to be able to tie in her educational stuff from school with the community project. And it was, the whole community was out there, and it's huge. It's a huge, huge event. So I think we as a commission should be proud of that whole element.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for attending both events on behalf of us, hopefully. Since there's nothing else here, I'm going to go to staff comments and schedule upcoming meetings and events of interest. Susan?
Right before we do that, we need to ask for, I'm going to mention this. So you'll notice tonight that the format has changed slightly. So going forward, there will be a public comment section on every item on the agenda. So recently, the council changed and started implementing that change as well. So the council reports out on all the different meetings, a task force that they serve on, and the city manager has a city manager's report that he provides at every single council meeting. And it was brought up by the community that there should be an opportunity for public feedback on those items as well. I must tell you that that's very unusual, and X amount of years, I've never seen that done, but that changed, and therefore all of us are changing. So it's not
Except for me, right? Because I keep on flubbing this whole thing.
I'm just explaining
I keep on
it.
walking right over it.
It's not because of Chair Machado's error. This just happened, and he got the luck of the draw to get to do this literally with a 15-minute notice. So from now on, there will be a public comment section after every single item. There's a slight difference. The items where we have action items, obviously there's going to be public feedback. They get to ask questions, they get to share their feedback, and the commission can respond to that. On items not on the agenda, we never respond. And on your commission reports and staff reports, it's usually informational only. So we would not engage with the public on dialogue. However, they can provide feedback. And to be honest, if they, for example, somebody made a comment after Commissioner Reisner's comment about the Day of the Dead event, if she had just mentioned that, they might have said, can you remind me where that was or what date that was? We're not going to say we're not going to respond to that, but it's really not to engage in open dialogue back and forth on the commission's reports and our reports. So I just wanted to let you know what's going on, because it's a little crazy tonight, and then we moved all the different pieces all over the place. So it's been a lot. So I apologize for that. But Becky, was there any public comment on, are there any participants on right now or public comment for the commission reports or comments?
No, the attendees we did have all vacated. We no longer have anyone with us.
Okay, well, let me know if they jump on while I'm talking then. So chair can invite that. So let me just give you a couple updates. On November 15th, the city council, just a couple days ago, awarded the contract to RHAA to start the Parks and Recreation Master Plan process. So we're about ready to get our running shoes on and start after the first of the year. So the information about when those meetings are going to take place and the process and the schedule and all that will be forthcoming. We are routing the contract as we speak. And then once that happens, we'll sit down with them and formalize the process and make sure everybody knows about it. So here we go. So that's very exciting. The board and commission and committees reception, you probably got an email or a meeting request. It is December 7th from 4 to 6 p.m. It's very different than what has been done in the past. It's more of a meet and greet with the mayor and the city council, and the recognition of all of you and all your volunteerism at the city council chambers. Normally it is a nice holiday affair up at Falkirk, but because we're still in COVID, we're still wearing masks, it's going to be a little bit more subdued, but you're all invited to that, and you should have received a meeting invite. If you haven't, let us know. It showed up as a calendar invite, so nothing really fancy, so you might want to check and make sure you got that. If not, let me know. Okay, Terrapin. So you probably have heard some rumblings in the IJ or on the news. So after 9 months of working with Terrapin Crossroads, we were really hopeful that they would renew their contract with the city for Beach Park. Just in case people are unaware, they had 2 lease agreements. One for the restaurant. There was rumor out there that the Leshes owned that restaurant. They did not, they leased it. And once they leased that restaurant back in, I'm not sure what year, but they approached the city in 2013, and the city crafted a lease agreement for their use, shared use of Beach Park. Unfortunately, they were unable to come to a mutually beneficial agreement with the property manager for the restaurant, and therefore did not also extend their agreement with the city for Beach Park. So on November 30th, they will be leaving Beach Park, and the city will be going in there and making sure all the items that needed to be removed are removed. There are some amenities and some improvements that they made that can stay, but as you know, if you've been there, there were open gas fire pits and strings of lights and stages and stuff like that, which obviously are not really able to be kept in a public park without direct supervision on a daily basis. So some of those items will be removed. So it is unfortunate. We're very sad because honestly, they were a great partner and made significant improvements, over $200,000 worth of improvements in that park. So I know there was rumblings and there's a lot of things that were out there. The city did not renew their lease agreement. Honestly, that could be further from the truth. So it is what it is, but we are sad to see them go. But I just wanted to let you know that in case you get a question. If you have any more, you can always email me. I'd be glad to either email you back or pick up the phone and chat with you if you have any specific questions. And the last thing I think I wanted to mention to you is a couple of you were serving on the conceptual design for Albert Park for the Library and Community Center. So I know we've been waiting and waiting and waiting to present that to the city council. Well, I wanted to share with you staff's recommendations going forward was twofold. One was to possibly do a conceptual design on the Carnegie. There's one from over 10 years ago, and to refresh that. But the second recommendation, which was really the primary one, was to do a community-wide survey to find out if the public is willing to support one of the 2 options, either renovating and expanding the Carnegie Library or building a joint community center and library at Albert Park. And if they were supportive, what were they willing to financially support through a bond measure? So that's the bigger recommendation. Staff just had the meeting with the mayor and vice mayor. And I will tell you the results of that meeting is thumbs up. They're very excited about us moving forward in that process. So we have a meeting with the city attorney, our consultants, to sit down at the table in 2 weeks and to discuss the details of what that community survey would look like, what the language would be, because whatever the language is in that community survey often relates to the the ballot measure. And right now, the tax strategy that would be looked at is really a property transfer tax. It is a simple majority of 51%, and it can be used on a building. And if you turn a building upside down, it can be used for everything that falls out. A lot of tax measures cannot. And a lot of tax measures require a 67% approval rating. And a property transfer tax, unlike a parcel tax, happens when you sell a home. And that property transfer tax is negotiated between the sellers and buyers. So a lot of cities have been very successful in this. The city currently has a $2 per $1,000 valuation, which is very low. And other cities have increased theirs from $2 to $8, $2 to $12, and been very successful in funding a whole bunch of capital improvements, including roads, parks, etc. So I don't want to get too far ahead of it, but if this survey goes out, we'll make sure you're well informed. And then depending on the results of that community-wide survey, we might be looking at a bond measure as soon as a year from now. So it's very exciting. So the conceptual design at this point is not being presented to the city council because there really isn't any action to be taken at this point. It is really, we've got two great options. Let's let the community tell us which one they're willing to support, if any. And if it comes back that they're not willing to support either option, staff has requested that ARPA, which is the American Rescue Plan Act funds that the city has received, that there's some money set aside to repair and renovate the existing Carnegie. The last study indicated that there was just under $2 million worth of infrastructure improvements and ADA improvements that needed to be done for the Carnegie to continue to be utilized in the way that it is. So in one way or the other, staff is really going at this to make sure we have a solution, whether it's a new one or the existing one gets improved so it can be there for the long haul. So that's probably the biggest news that we have going on right now, right up with the Park and Rec Master Plan, 2 major projects. So we will let you know as much information as we have as we move forward.
All right. Thank you, Susan.
You are welcome.
Any other comments from the commissioners in regards to what Susan just had said? No.
Don't believe there's any public on, so.
I don't invite, oh, here we go. Kat.
No, it's just a personal thank you for trying to work with the Terrapin Crossroads Terrapin Crossroads. My wedding was in the beach park. The first wedding, the first rental that they ever did a couple years ago. So I fondly remember it, and we permitted through the city. So it was great. Debbie was there. It was fun. So thank you for trying to work with them. That's disappointing news, but it is what it is. So thank you.
All right.
That's just a really quick question on that. Do you have do you think that the restaurant owners presumably want someone else to lease it? Would the city be ready and willing to work with whoever the next one, or was this just the perfect marriage?
Well, to be honest, Terrapin Crossroads, the Leshes approached the city. The city didn't approach them. They said, you know, we have this great venue. Concerts is really their forte. Restaurant just happened to be the side gig, right? It wasn't really, that wasn't the main reason why they were there. And so they approached the city. I think the city would be willing to consider all options. The property manager did indicate to me that the property really needs some significant investment to bring it up to where it needs to be. And so right now they're considering either making that investment or selling off the property. So that's where they're at. But yes, we would consider it. We did get quite a few inquiries of people who just wanted to rent out Beach Park and do what the Leshes did without anything. And to be quite frank, the reason why that relationship worked so well is the restaurant had the parking on site. It also had the restrooms. And as part of the public benefit, the whole reason the city even entertained this was the benefit was to the public that they were going to get to use Beach Park to augment what they couldn't provide inside the restaurant, i.e. the concerts and a lot of the free events to the public. In exchange for that, they would supervise that park during all open hours when the restaurant was open. So it would be maintained at a certain level. Well, without anyone being on site, so even if you were to shuttle people in, even if you're figuring out how you're going to do the portable restrooms, you still need to provide on-site supervision. And I can't imagine somebody standing out there with an umbrella in a rainstorm, making sure the park's open. So it's really a challenge. And honestly, I have gotten at least 12 phone calls from concert promoters who want to take over Beach Park. And I let them all know if that's something that the city decides it wants to do. There will obviously be a request for qualifications that will be posted, and at that point the city would entertain all proposals. But at this point we're not doing that. We may, but it doesn't look like it. So
all right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. All right, are we ready to go? Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for your participation, and it was a great year. I mean, just in understanding that I was kind of making my way through this, I appreciate your understanding, and I wish all of you a wonderful, wonderful Thanksgiving and a great holiday season. So,
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, you too.
I am going to adjourn this meeting at 7:40. Have a good one, you guys.
Thank you.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.